For 4,500 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza has just stood there, silently asking one single question that has echoed through all of history. How? I mean, really, how was this thing built? Well, today we're finally pulling back the curtain on that mystery. And we're not doing it with wild speculation, but with some pretty groundbreaking science that has revealed an entire lost world. So let's just dive right in and see how they finally cracked the code.
Okay, first, let's just get a sense of the scale we're talking about here. The Great Pyramid weighs an estimated 6 times million tons. To put that in perspective, that's like 16 Empire State Buildings. It's made of about 2.3 million individual stone blocks, and some of those weigh as much as a school bus. The logistics of it all, it's just absolutely mind-boggling.
And yeah, that brings us right to that central question. How on earth did a civilization thousands of years ago, with absolutely no modern machinery, pull off one of the greatest engineering feats in all of human history? I mean, this single question has fueled debates, endless research, and, let's be honest, some pretty wild theories for millennia.
For the longest time, building the pyramid was seen as this near impossible task. A challenge so immense that it just seemed to defy any normal explanation. And of course, that opened the door for all kinds of speculation. And this really frames the whole debate perfectly. You've got the old theories on one side, brutal, impossible slave labor, or aliens. But on the other side, we have new evidence that points to something way more impressive: masterful hydraulic engineering.
So how did we get to this incredible new understanding? Well, the answer wasn't found by looking up at the stars. No, it was found by digging down into the earth. This was a case of some absolutely brilliant scientific detective work. The researchers followed this fascinating process. They drilled deep down into the Giza floodplain, right next to the pyramids. They pulled out these long sediment cores that were basically a timeline of the landscape, kind of like tree rings for the Earth. And by analyzing fossilized pollen trapped inside that mud, they could literally reconstruct the environment as it was 8,000 years ago. And in doing that, they completely redrew the map of the ancient Nile. And this whole process, it led them to the smoking gun, the one piece of the puzzle that had been missing for over 4,500 years, hidden right there beneath everyone's feet the entire time. So, let me introduce you to the star of our story, the Khufu Branch. This was a massive, now extinct arm of the Nile River that, and this is the crucial part, flowed right up to the base of the Giza Plateau. We're not talking about a little stream here. This was a major waterway, a natural superhighway for all the construction materials they needed. And this timeline just shows you the river's entire life story. Right around 2550 BC, during Pharaoh Khufu's reign, the river was at its absolute peak. Perfect timing for building a pyramid, right? But then, by the time of King Tut, it was already starting to dry up. By 600 BC, it had vanished completely into the sand, taking its secret with it, until modern science finally brought it back to life. So, you can see why this discovery changes everything. It completely shifts the conversation from brute force or, alien magic to an incredibly clever, real-world solution. So how did this actually work in practice? Well, with the Khufu Branch, the Egyptians could float these enormous limestone and granite blocks, some from over 500 miles away, right to the construction site. They cleverly used the Nile's annual floods, when the water levels were at their highest, and they operated this whole sophisticated harbor system just a stone's throw from the pyramid's base. It was an absolute masterpiece of logistics. And this is why the whole alien theory just doesn't hold up. The truth is so much more impressive. The Great Pyramid wasn't built by some otherworldly power. It was built by a deeply intelligent civilization that had this intimate, profound understanding of its own environment and exactly how to work with it. But this discovery doesn't just rewrite the engineering story. It rewrites the human one too. It helps us debunk another one of those really persistent myths about who actually built this monument. So forget that Hollywood image of countless slaves toiling under the whip. Archaeological discoveries of entire worker villages near the pyramids tell a completely different story. The evidence shows that these were highly skilled artisans. They were paid for their work, they were given good food, proper housing, and they were truly respected for their craft. In fact, they were incredibly organized. We know from inscriptions that they worked in these teams or gangs with amazing names like the Drunkards of Menkaure. They had a real sense of team spirit. They even competed against each other, all in service and loyalty to their pharaoh. This was a project of national pride, not of coercion. So, what does all of this really mean in the grand scheme of things? Well, this discovery isn't just about one pyramid. It's about how we understand our own past and really the nature of history itself. And this really gets to the heart of what is so important here. See, history isn't some static collection of facts that are set in stone. It's a living, breathing story that we are constantly refining. As our scientific tools get sharper and sharper, we can ask better questions and find answers that we once thought were impossible to know. Ultimately, the Khufu Branch is that missing piece. It's the link that connects the huge ambition of the pharaohs with the actual reality of their world. And it proves that when human ingenuity works in harmony with the natural landscape, truly incredible things, things that can last for millennia, can be achieved. And that just leaves us with one final, pretty exciting thought. If an entire river, a river that helped build the pyramids, could be lost for thousands of years, just waiting to be rediscovered, what other monumental secrets about our own history are still buried out there, just waiting for the right tools and for us to ask the right questions?